All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to get into the top 10 War Series episodes. A disclaimer here, this is not my top 10 favorite War Series episodes. And when it comes to what are the top 10 episodes, that's a subjective matter. And if you ask me, I couldn't even conjure up a top 10 list. It would take me quite some time. This is a top 10 episode list when it comes down to my experiences in the filmmaking process of these episodes. From our point of view versus a viewer's point of view, they don't know exactly everything that goes on behind the scenes. On that note, I will get into my top 10 favorite War Series episodes, experience-wise, to make overall. You're gonna hear some stories maybe you've never heard before. Coming in at number 10, we have Psychosis Conquer, episode 16 from season 1. Now, season 1, you won't see that many episodes on this list. Obviously, such a long time ago, our skill set was not as diversified, but nonetheless, episode 16 comes out. This was a big one. At the time, we were starting to make longer episodes. Episode 16 was ambitious, to say the least. Owen, it's the episode where Owen brings back the pimp, which hadn't been in use since the original old school war. We're out back in my shed. We shot the scene with the pimp. He brings out the chainsaw and kills me. One character I'm playing, Trevor's in there with my dad's coat from like the 90s. He stabs him with the shears. Dunking Nick. Really, why this is on this list is dunking Psychosis in the bathtub was just freaking awesome. And then Owen jumped in from the window. He was out on the roof and he jumped in. Also, we took Nick up the stairs. That was fun, lifting his body through the hall. So for season 1, this was a fun episode to make. A lot of great stories, almost suffocating Nick in the bathtub. This was a fun one to put together. Obviously, it was when we were younger. It's not all there. It's a little sloppy, but it has its moments. On to number 9, following. A lot of following is just me playing Maroney, Mitchell, and Arnold. That's the premise. The three of us, obviously at the beginning there, where Arnold finds Psychosis, talks to him, has a little talk there. The Hackers Legion has a little meeting at the bar. But this episode, it's named after Chris Nolan's Following, his black and white film. But it has some good shots. It has some strong moments. I can't remember if Nick or I edited this one. Putting it together though, trying to figure out, okay, where's Mitchell gonna be? Where's Arnold gonna be? Where's Maroney gonna be? It's all me. I have to, Mark has to work the shots. We have to figure out what'll be best in each scenario. And then of course this is the episode where the bounty hunter dies. Obviously it was years ago. I can't remember that much about the filming experience overall, the behind the scenes moments. And obviously it wasn't our best work. There weren't that many things that were memorable. I could put finale in there. Later down the road I might do my favorite episodes, period. But these are just overall my favorite episodes when it comes to, like I said prior, the actual experience we had putting them together. And finale was a pain in the ass because it took months. So I really wouldn't put that up there. I look back on this episode and I thought we did a good job considering the circumstances. It was just a pain to make. Let's talk about number 8, Key. Key is an episode from season 2. Key's episode 5. This was our first episode after an almost 6-month hiatus. Apologies for talking quietly. I'm using my inside voice. I don't want to upset my parents. They'll go ballistic on me. So I apologize if I sound like I have a quiet voice in some of these videos. It's because I'm just trying to piss off my parents. Key was the first episode since Cup. Cup's a phenomenal one too. And this was very hype because we get the whole gang back together, brushing off the rust. This was at Bobby's first episode. We got Bobby. This was serious hype. Derek is back. We used his car. We did a night scene and Caleb and Connor showed up. We had a whole bunch of great bloopers from this episode. I went down to the frozen lake, or well, not the frozen, but the drained lake again for the first time since season 1. Seth has the Mask's clan from Old War. That's a big reveal. He's got this random rusty chain we found down there when the lake was drained. It felt good after half a year. getting back into things, getting into what we love to do. And that leads me to number 7, Men of Business. Starting back up, starting a new series with all kinds of potential. We didn't know what it was. This was an exciting time. We didn't know what we were going to get into. At this time, I didn't even know how Mob was going to go or where the story was going to end up, how things would be finished. And this was special. There was a lot of hope for the future. We had a lot of guys, potential actors that were going to be a part. And yeah, this was premiered June 12th, 2021. So 6 months after season 2 finale. This was a big deal. And of course, you have your opening scene. So this was very special for me. And then we went to Gettysburg. That was the one reveal. That's if there was one thing I knew, it was gonna take place in Gettysburg. So I had the base. I just don't know what to wrap around it, how it would be structured yet. But yes, that's this spot right here is in the Gettysburg Outlets. So that was intentional. And of course, we have Bobby again. Got to use this house. It was his grandmother's, I believe. That was a big deal, getting to film on a new property, use a new house. And then for the first time, we went to this park outside of Lake Mead. I always knew it was there, and I always wanted to film there. We never got around to it for War. So I was like, we're gonna do it for Mob. Mob was big when it came to, shift of characters, new plot. And this was big for me. I really wanted to shift. I really wanted to film at as many new locations as we possibly could. And we ended up doing a pretty good job on that. What comes after Men of Business? Well, this one's special for me, number 6, Hidden Land. Episodes that consist of 2 parts, I just put them into one. So it'll be Hidden Land part 1 and 2. Going to the park that's behind East Berlin. This was a fun time. It was tough to film, it was hot, we were wearing layers, but this was a special moment. The plot finally coming together for season 2 of War. I mean, I had the Hidden Land in my mind for years. That's why it was special for me. This is like my own little miniature Indiana Jones adventure here. I loved editing these together, piecing what soundtracks I had in mind. See, when I make a scene, for the most part, unless Nick puts it together and puts a soundtrack in and edits it, before I make a scene, what I have in mind is I always have to build it around a soundtrack, and then we make the scene, and then I put that soundtrack in there. So at most parts, it'll fit the scene. So usually when I'm making a scene, I'm usually listening to the soundtrack. Sometimes I'll make a scene with the soundtrack in mind, and then Nick will put a different one. But yeah, for the most part, these episodes, I knew what soundtracks I was going to put in at each scene. For you, the viewers, or some of the other guys, they might not like Hidden Land as much as I do. Number 5, Broken Bonds. This was another episode. I don't know, the ones where we come off of a hiatus are very special to me. And this was, after quite a bit, followed Return to the Hidden Land, which we did in the winter and spring. And this is what really got the ball rolling. Episode 10 is the mark of no more hiatuses, and from here we're just gonna finish Mob. And I really, really love this episode. A portion of it we filmed at Owen's house the fall beforehand. That was really fun to do. And then in the summer of 23, we shot, a lot of these scenes were shot months and years. This Stonehenge scene was shot in 2022 summer. This scene with Stonehenge, and then the airport, and then Logan at the hotel. That's 2-year-old scene, over 2 years. And then this was done in summer of 23. And then the first scene is done in summer of 20, or done in the fall of 23. So this entire episode, we could have uploaded it sooner, but we were kind of spacing them. We wanted them all kind of towards the summer and then the fall, the anniversary for Once Upon a Time in Gettysburg. This whole episode, going to the UK, actually filming at Stonehenge, I had that planned for a long, long time because I knew we were going to plan that trip to see my sister. And then managing we lucked out with that shot in the hotel, or in the hotel hall. Very lucky. This is a special episode to me. Just the fact that these scenes are so far apart, and pieced together, and then like a year later, finally saw the light of day. A scene with the pimp and Mitchell in my Mustang. We were just having such a blast. Mark's in the back. You can't see him, it's so dark, but yeah, he was basically in charge of the camera, changing the angles, and then we'd set it up on near the dash. Yeah, other than that, that's it for number 5. Number 4 is The Coming Storm. Coming Storm is the precursor to Ends Meet. So it's the second to last episode of season 2. Why is this one special? Honestly, looking back, this episode isn't the best. However, it was a blast to make. This was a big deal. You know, 2 last episodes, like, the pressure's on. 2 final episodes of War. This is before we even knew we were going to do Mob, really. We thought War of season 2 was going to be the end. And, you know, very serious underlying tone. You know, Logan's going to turn himself in. You got it starting out in the middle of the night in this dimly lit area. It's very shady. You go and you meet this doctor character that's never been in war before. Who's this guy? What does this have to play with? The snow. And you see the sun is setting beneath the cloud line. This was a big deal. We had a lot of actors involved. Especially when it comes to, this is the final scene in Dylan's bar. Dylan's bar. And this is a big, big deal. You got Seth wearing an Eagles beanie. He's a Cowboys fan. And he's wearing an Eagles beanie. That's a big deal. Holy cannoli. But in all seriousness, this is the scene that I love. Nick's car driving in the dark, driving up north to the frozen flatland, which was just the lake with a lot of snow on it. A lot of snow, so you can't really tell. It was like, oh, it's a flat land, and this is where the base is. But this was really, really fun to make. Super cold. It was hard for all of us, but it was so worth it. And it ended up looking cool. And built a lot of tension. And then after that, of course, this was a day where we had the scene at the end. We were at the one dock. Everyone runs away. That was really fun to make. When Nick and I are shooting at them, and then we walk behind the elementary school, Bermudian Springs Elementary School. It looks like sunrise, but it's really sunset. Bobby jumps on this branch here, brings the whole thing tumbling down. That was a fun scene to shoot. Really just a shot, not even a scene. Well, it's the ending to the shots that come beforehand. Number 3 is The Ballad of the Pimp. Now, if this is like an actual top 10 episodes, favorite episodes, just in general, this Ballad of the Pimp's probably my number 1. I say probably. It's debatable in my mind. But number 3, The Ballad of the Pimp. This is getting to go back to Owen's house and shooting basically the whole episode. Just so much fun. Anytime you're with Owen, it's a blast. Anytime we were at his house, just crazy things happened, memorable moments, really well put together scenes. Aaron got to edit this whole episode, so it was nice, you know, having him take care of that portion of the workload. He did a phenomenal job. And I thought about this episode for a long, long time before we ever made it. I was like, this has to be good. This has to be good. And did not disappoint on that end. For me to get this episode right, you know, the Pimp's big comeback since earlier in Mob. Like, this was his return. This was his forefront of the plot. He became one of the driving characters to push the plot forward. An X factor, as I would call it. Montage of us just screwing around playing beer pong and all that fancy jargon. And then the piano scene, of course. Love that moment. Love that dynamic between Mitchell, Mr. Philly, and the Pimp. And then, of course, you know, they go and talk to Adrian. He gets chucked in the pool. How can you not love it? Then we lucked out at this funny scene with Tayshawn in the bathroom. So the whole episode just has a vibe to it. Big one. The big kahuna. Close to being number 1, but number 2. And I was going back and forth, number 1 or number 2. I was like, do I have recency bias? But this was really, really a fun time. Once Upon a Time in Gettysburg. Both parts. Filming in Gettysburg, getting the whole thing done, spending all day, having the whole group together, being at Gettysburg and then being at the reservoir. So much fun. Putting it together, you know, the hype surrounding the release when we finally uploaded it, going out with a bang. That's what Once Upon a Time in Gettysburg was. And there's things that got cut short in those episodes too, but I don't really have any regrets. That is one of my favorite film experiences, so I have it up there at number 2. Number 1, and like I said, I kept going back and forth with these two, but I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna stand on number 1 being Ends Meet, the season 2 finale. Now, yes, it was in the wintertime. Yes, we were freezing our asses off, but just the experience going it to Owen, the whole day was crazy. And of course, there are other scenes that don't take place at Owen's house. Just making the entire finale, that back end of season 2 was just a wild time. One of the greatest times of my life, despite it being post-COVID, where a lot of people, said they had a hard time during COVID. I was fortunate enough that it was really one of the best years of my life. I remember finishing Mob. I wouldn't say it was bittersweet, but melodramatic might be the right term to use. Ends Meet, when it was dark out and we're packing up the cars, I was actually getting emotional. I wouldn't say I wasn't bawling out tears, but I could feel the emotions. Maybe they got a little watery, but definitely not dripping tears. That was such an emotional time. It's extremely, extremely satisfying. I'd say maybe it's because Once Upon a Time in Gettysburg, my expectations are just higher. For myself and for the guys, I just was like, it's just business as usual. Yeah, we're done for good, but business as usual. Ends Meet was special. The hard work we put in. Ends Meet was definitely harder to put together because we had to do that in one day. It was freezing cold out, and we had to drive to all these different places. That shootout we did, the abandoned building, someone almost fell down one of those holes. Linda, you had Linda in there. Just a great fun time. And then Baxter versus Logan, making that, they didn't do that great job, but we're not, none of these guys are stuntmen. They're not trained fighters. It's best that it ended up looking kind of silly versus someone getting a broken finger, a broken hand, or worse, a broken face. But it still has an aesthetic to it, especially when Owen got up on the rooftop of this house that's just basically falling apart. It's not even there anymore. This is a history. You might as well put this on the History Channel, folks, because this house doesn't exist anymore. It collapsed. So Owen's up here getting the shot in. This just has a vibe to it. I love season 2's serious tone versus Mob, which is a little bit more light. You wouldn't call it lighthearted, but it takes some weight off that season 2 had on. And not that that's a problem. I'm glad, because I want them to be two different things. But I appreciate the seriousness and the darkness of war that season 2 had to offer. Even moments of season 1. And of course, me making the scene of Mitchell chasing after Arnold with the help of Nick, of course. We shot that like the crack of dawn, like 5 or 6 a.m. It's like 6 a.m. Maybe it's before. Like we got up at 5 to go out and shoot that. 4 years and counting, I still think that's number 1. I'm gonna stick by it. I'm gonna not say Once Upon a Time in Gettysburg, even though I do like those episodes more. But I'm gonna say experience-wise, making these episodes, Ends Meet, is my number 1. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully this was not taking up too much of your time. I will condense this to the best of my ability. That is my top 10 best war series episode filming experiences. Take care. Peace out.